Oh, it's Emily.
Welcome back, everybody. We are now live. Back to order. And our next submitter is Neil Wadham. Welcome, Neil. You're up. Who? This is submitter number 111. Neil, there's a total of 10 minutes. We'll let you know when there's 7 minutes to go. Come and take a seat. We'll let you know when there's we're at the 7-minute mark if you'd like to leave some time for questioning.
I don't think I'll be taking too much time. But
Oh, we've heard that before, but that's okay. Over to you.
I was expecting to 3:20. I was expecting to stop, but
I had you down at 2:40 on my.
I just arrived here by.
I did see an email and I've moved you.
Oh, it doesn't matter. You're here, which is perfect. So it's floor's yours.
Well, thank you. Those who don't know, I'm Neil Wadham. My wife and I own property in Norfolk Road. And I want to speak on the transportation consultation item and your long-term plan. And my view is that you have two options that you've selected, option 1 and option 2. And I would like to support option 1 in that transportation plan. And the reasons, I think you've highlighted a lot of the reasons in your options list already, particularly in option 2, the impact. There's significant reduction in no-cost risk projects with dangerous intersections, etc. The reduction in emergency repairs completed related to the cyclone damages and so forth that have occurred over the last period. And particularly the risks regarding dangerous intersections, accident sites and so forth that in the past have been well maintained, well looked after by the council, and I would just like to see that continue. I'm concerned about the reduction in emergency repairs, etc., and roading assets that may be compromised. And the threat of communities such as Platpoint being isolated is just, I don't think it's acceptable to the council. Maintaining district roads, the roading network is a core function of the council, I believe. It's not a nice to have, it's a must have. The Carterton district is a large district with a vast number of rural roads. I accept that, but that is responsibility of the council, I believe, to have those roads maintained to the highest possible standard. Any reduction in maintenance may lead to, as you identified, potholes, etc., etc. And we all know the history of the pothole saga over the last few years with the state highways and the proliferation of the road cones, traffic management trucks and so forth that would lead to immense amount of frustration to the motorist. Option 1 will cost, if my sums are correct, will cost about $39 more for a property valued at $500,000 per year than option 2. And I appreciate that is an extra cost, but to me that's false economy if you were to go with a cheaper option. I sit on the Wairarapa Council of the New Zealand Automobile Association, and once a month we have our meeting. And as a Carterton resident, it's my responsibility to report on roading matters in the Carterton district. I get this information from general observation, from speaking with Councillor Della, and reading through the agenda items of your council. And I'm always take some pride in reporting that the Carterton roads are maintained to a very high standard. Any problems are quickly identified and fixed. Large major problems such as those caused by Cyprian and Gabriel, you attend to and you find a way to resolve those issues even though they were major, probably better than some other councils that I hear about. And I would like to ensure that those I can report in such a manner in the future. So my main concern is the roading network must be maintained for safety, for the rural community, for their access to and from work, school, leisure, whatever around the district. And I feel that any reduction in the spending on that transportation plan will be false economy. I think I've learnt the hard way that $1 not spent today on an essential item was $2 have to be spent tomorrow. So that's my view on your LTP plan.
Thank you very much for your submission. Really appreciate it, and with your experience too, Neil. Committee members, questions, Councillor Cretney.
Morning, Neil. Thank you for taking the time for that, and I appreciate your comments around option one and transport and your principles around that. I'm curious to know your principles around you've chosen option 2 for the wastewater. Do you not see the same principles around option 2 as well, but choosing option 2 in the wastewater and not choosing option 1?
Well, I suppose roading and driving and so forth is a hobby horse of mine, as a passion of mine. So therefore, I'm probably a wee bit biased as far as that goes. But I can't answer that. It's a fair comment, and I take what you're telling me. Yeah.
Any other questions? Any of the other Steves?
No, got the other.
Lou? Nothing. Poor Lou is suffering potential COVID, so you're doing well to hang in there. Thank you. There being no other questions, Neil, thank you very much for submitting, and especially on something that you are very passionate about too. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. Yes.
We're now slightly ahead of time. Our next presenter, I have Corinne Barnard.
Kirsten.
Is it Kirsten Mason instead from Victoria University? Welcome, Kirsten. So you'll probably have heard there's 10 minutes in total. So we'll let you know when there's 7 minutes up if you would like to allow for any questions. If you don't want any questions, then feel free to go the full 10 minutes. Welcome.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for having me, and also for the possibility to attend via Teams, which is much appreciated. My name is Kirsten Mason. I am the Acting Chief Executive of the New Zealand Symphony Orchestra. So I am here on behalf of Victoria University and the Symphony Orchestra to speak to our submission regarding inclusion, our request for funding inclusion in your long-term plan to support the National Music Centre. As you'll have seen in the submission, we are requesting a total of $500,000 from all of the councils in the region, and the amount requested from each council has been worked out proportionate to the population. So the request for Carterton is $9,430 as a one-off amount, which could, of course, be spread across several years. I definitely would like to leave time for questions, so I will just reiterate a few key points. The first is that this is not the Wellington Music Centre that is planned. It's actually not even a regional music centre that's planned. It is a national music centre. And given that you can't tour a building, we spend a lot of time thinking about and planning for how to make this a centre of national significance. And our plans include, at the heart of it, is the state-of-the-art auditorium and other spaces. Also state-of-the-art recording facilities, which will be operated by the NZSO for the benefit of the whole sector. And this will create significant commercial opportunities, as well as opportunities for recordings, post-production, live digital broadcasts for the entire sector, not just for the orchestra, of course. Other plans include national youth music festivals that bring together youth ensembles, orchestras, bands from across the country for weeks long of music making and instruction. Also other music festivals, co-curated for ensembles and artists from across the region that will attract people in across multiple days. So I guess a point I would like to make is this will not just be a centre for orchestral music, nor just a centre for classical music, but it will embrace all genres of music and sizes of ensembles, large and small. Education also is at the heart of the National Music Centre through the partnership between the School of Music and the New Zealand Symphony Orchestra. And this is actually a partnership that I have not seen replicated elsewhere. We haven't found another example of a partnership anywhere in the Western world between an orchestra and a music school. And our primary goal here in the partnership is to attract students, retain students, and keep students here once they graduate in paid employment in music, and to ensure the pipeline of musical professionals for the entire region. So we have an all-encompassing set of plans for musical education, and we are confident that this will benefit the whole region because, of course, as you already know, there are no, when it comes to these things, there are no boundaries between cities. People work in Wellington and live in the Wairarapa. People live in the Wairarapa and come into Wellington. Music teachers work across the region. They teach at the School of Music, or they play in the orchestras, and they run Saturday morning classes. It's a very fluid and connected ecosystem, and we are confident that having a national music centre with all of the programs that will be set up there will benefit all of the youth orchestras, bands, choirs, amateur ensembles, school music programs across the entire region, including, of course, in Carterton. So those are the main points I wanted to make. Thank you very much for your attention and consideration. Just to reiterate, I guess the amount that we're looking for is $9,430 as a one-off contribution from your long-term plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kirsten. And Councillor Cretney has his hand up for question first.
Kia ora, Kirsten. I have a question around the submission, and you've mentioned 8 councils. I'm curious why you haven't mentioned 9, so Greater Wellington Regional Council. Are you not seeking funding from Greater Wellington Regional Council?
We are not at the moment, and I'm sorry, Councillor, I can't tell you why not. As I guess was obvious by the fact my name was not on the submission, I have stepped in for someone else here. So I can't tell you why we are not seeking money from Greater Wellington Regional Council, but in this particular funding request, we are not.
Thank you.
Your Worship, first, and then Deputy Mayor.
Hi, Kirsten, how you going?
Kia ora.
Yeah, just reflecting back on the presentation you gave at the Mayoral Forum. And what's a little different is you're saying a one-off of about 9.5 over multiple years. Given your project timeline, how flexible would you be over the multiple years?
I think we are flexible, and again, I'm standing in for Kerry Prendergast, who is overseas at the moment, and she did say that we are flexible. The centre will open in 2027, but obviously we have capacity to take grants or funding amounts at different times, and it's not a large amount in the scheme of the project, so I think we would be very flexible.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking, just on a quick crunch, if it was able to be spread over, and I'm just hypothesising, if Carterton District Council was to say, yeah, we're in that to demonstrate that we're committed to arts and culture across the Wellington region, and we believe in working together with other councils. If we were to sort of look at over 10 years, that's maybe not helpful for your project manager, helpful for your fundraising and your funding arrangements, but it would drop it down to $2.25 something a day for per ratepayer, I think.
Yeah. I don't know the answer to that question. I'm sorry, as to how many years. When Kerry said to me before she left, it can be spread over multiple years. Whether she was thinking of the term of the term of the long-term plan or a shorter period of time, I can't answer that. I'm sorry, but I can definitely take that question back.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor had a question for you.
Yeah, really just following on from the last two questions, I'm a little bit unclear. Can you just clarify me? I mean, this is a long-term plan, not an annual plan submission process. Until you said a one-off, there was nothing in the submission. I couldn't work out whether it was 9,800 per year for the term of our long-term plan or a one-off $9,000 and we never hear from you again. And the follow-up question to that is, how do you run yourself beyond year one, assuming all the money's come in? So could you just clarify both those points, please?
Yes, absolutely. So this is a request for 500,000 towards the development of the music centre, so towards the facilities that will go into the music centre. So it's CapEx essentially, and how we run ourselves once it's up. Well, there are 3 partners in the music in the National Music Centre, 4 if you count Wellington NZ, who are obviously principally funded by the councils and by Wellington City Council. So you have revenue generated from that Wellington City Council puts into its venues, where revenue that is generated by hiring the venue out, which Wellington NZ will run. The NZSO has crowdfunding and ticket sales and all of the other things you'd expect an orchestra to have. And Victoria University has the usual funding mechanisms for a music school. So the intention is for the National Music Centre to run itself without reaching back out to the councils for support, which is why it is a one-off request to get this to find the investment required to get the centre open in 2027.
Thank you.
Councillor Dalla, last question.
Thank you, Liz. Kirsten, sorry for the presentation. I've just got one question. The financing of it, you say it's a one-off 9,500 approx for Carterton. You requesting monies from all of the Wellington region. I note that it is for the New Zealand Symphony Orchestra and the New Zealand Youth Orchestra. Is the rest of New Zealand contributing to this this fund, or what's happening?
Yes, there is the total campaign budget is 33 million, and several million of that has already come from central government, and we are in a process of discussing with them, another amount in a budget bid. So yes, nationally there is national money going into the National Music Centre. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kirsten, thank you very much for stepping in and presenting this afternoon. Appreciate your time. All the best with your endeavours. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Next submitter we have is Simon Casey for the Wairarapa Water Advocacy Group.
That's me.
It's you. Welcome, Simon.
I feel here.
Yes, take a seat. Now you've got 10 minutes.
Yes.
And I will let you know when there's 7 minutes if you would like to allow some time for questions, or you can use the full 10 minutes.
Okay.
Video.
Thank you. Okay. Yes. Hello again. I have had the privilege of being able to present to you in the past. My submission is essentially about the Wairarapa Water Advocacy Group, which has recently been formed, is looking for funding to have a study of the options that were considered previously by Wairarapa Water Limited for a bulk community water storage system in the Wairarapa. As you be aware, the Wairarapa Water Limited ceased to trade once it was had an unsuccessful consent application for the Wakamokau water storage scheme. That was back in 2021. And since then, nothing much more has happened. But climate change, droughts, those sorts of issues affecting the Wairarapa are still actually happening, and predicted in some cases to get worse. We have an opportunity. I made contact with some people who are involved with that previous project to see whether there was energy and whether there was a will to actually restart a look at the water storage schemes. We've got a lot of information that has been done previously over the last 15 to 20 years. Do we just give up and roll over, or do we start the process again, but utilise the information that has already been gathered, of which millions of dollars of money has been spent, public money has been spent, which now rests with MB, Kanoa. If we can make use of that information, then we may be able to restart the process by looking at the options that were shortlisted, because the Wakamokau option may not have been the most appropriate solution. It may still be the most appropriate solution, either as is or with changes that would actually make it more suitable. This is because the political landscape has changed and some other aspects and technology has changed that requires us to not just try and pick up Wakamokau again and just put it up as a ready-to-build scheme. We need to know that the other options are indeed inferior to Wakamokau. It may well be that the Wakamokau is still appropriate, but perhaps with some changes. So while we're asking for the funding is to get a consultancy company in to review existing documentation. We're not looking at anything new, but we do want that consultant to look in the political landscape that we've got right now, look at all those options and see whether what is the most appropriate option going forward. The cost of that study we expect to be about $150,000. The terms of reference will be simply to relook at the documentation that is there, and in the light of new political landscape, as I've said before. We're asking all the councils to support this. For this to work, it actually has to be a unanimous council support venture, because it's for the whole of the Wairarapa. It is not specifically for Carterton, it's not specifically for South Wairarapa or Masterton, and the regional council definitely needs to be involved in this as well. If we can get the support for this and undertake a study and get a successful result, which means that there is a clear option or a couple of options that we should be putting forward to the community, then I believe that central funding for a project like this will be much easier to get, because we have spoken. We have put our money where our mouth is, and we have cross-council support. The amount that I'm asking as far as the Carterton Council is concerned is 21,000 of that 150,000, and that comes from the pro rata rules that have been agreed between councils. Should that not be sufficient, we will be looking for private assistance to grow the fund if more than 150,000 is required. We don't want to come back to the council cap in hand and say we want some more. We do understand that all councils are skint. You have very little play in the amount of money that's available, and we're fighting with a lot of other people or competing with a lot of other people for very, very scarce funds. So we do take this seriously, but it is a community-wide process. Without water storage, if we lose it this time around, I doubt we'll have another go for a long, long time. If we do get it, it will be for the economic benefit of the whole of the Wairarapa. And I believe that it's a responsibility of every council to ensure that the strategic direction of the Wairarapa, the economic health of the Wairarapa, is indeed looked after, and this is the way to do it. In terms of how it will be governed, you will be aware that the Water Resilience Group is being reformed, which I understand the council support. The Advocacy Group will work with the Resilience Group to ensure that it fits in with the Resilience Group's protocols and policies. Should we actually get to a point where we're able to select an option, the Advocacy Group will probably dissolve and it will turn more likely into a project group. So we're an advocacy group just to get this project underway again, and for the sake of the Wairarapa. So I think that's enough for now, and I'm very happy to get any questions.
Thank you so much, Simon. Deputy Mayor.
Just in terms of optimism or ideally confidence in getting a result this time for the money spent, on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you put it?
I'd actually put it quite high because with the discussions I've had with all the councils and also with the regional council, I believe that there is support for the good thing about a study is that it's non-committal. What it's really doing is stating that here are the top 2 options that need to be looked at. Here are probably the costs. It's at that point that you will actually need to actually commit to a solution, but we will be going to central government for funding for that. I feel confident that everyone's on the same page.
Okay, Councillor Cretney.
Simon, have potential investors shown an increased interest in the project due to the fast tracking? And are both iwi on board to actually going back through the whole process for the Wakamoko?
Yeah.
Because it was iwi in the first place who were pushing back on that significantly.
We have both iwi on our advocacy group and they're supporting the study. And as far as fast track is concerned, it's way too early to say that yet. At this stage, we're just looking at options, and we can really only look at fast track if it gets to that point where we see it as a tool in the box. It's certainly not something that we're interested in pursuing right now. However, the other side of it is that we have got support from Irrigation New Zealand, who see us as one of 4 important projects for the economic health of New Zealand, that the Wairarapa has a reliable water supply. And it may well be that we have to go down the fast track, but it is not the current intention. It's just essentially to get community support for a bulk water storage system.
Just adding to that.
Yeah.
Are your 2 iwi representatives actually would be supportive of you in the future, or the group going down the road of using fast tracking? Because the way it's being presented in the media and everything.
No one in the group has actually come up and said, if fast tracking is going to be used, I'm out of here type thing, you know. No, it's not even come up as an issue.
Thank you.
Trying to be helpful. And we've talked about this. Most of the committee doesn't get to see the detail of the conversations, the water resilience group meetings, the water advisory group meetings, or the conversations with irrigation NZ more broadly. Why do you, if the support, if we would ask you, given we have been asked to put money into all of these different organisations for their purposes, why do we need to fund you if there's such a high level of buy-in to what it is you're trying to do, including from the water resilience group?
The way I see it is that we have to show, I believe we have to show to central government especially, that there is an interest in the whole of the Wairarapa across all the councils for a relook at water storage, and that's essentially what we're asking for. It really comes down to, will the councils be prepared to put some financial commitment towards it? And what we're saying is that study should be a sufficient starter for 10, shall we say, that all councils in a tight financial environment are prepared to put money towards us because they see it as being seriously important.
Thank you, Simon. That is our 10 minutes up, judging by the little line bell that I heard.
Okay.
Thank you very much
Thank you.
for presenting. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thanks very much indeed.
Our next submitter that I'd like to welcome to the table is Mike Jones, our submitter number 69. Mike, as you will have heard, 10 minutes in total, so 7 minutes.
Message. Got the message.
Oh, you're fabulous. I don't need to explain to you, do I? Welcome. Floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm here and you'll be pleased to hear, you can all relax, I'm not asking for money. All I want is a bit of consideration. I'm with a great deal of the old people of this community. I work by working on the St John's Shuttle. I'm in the St Vincent de Paul Society. I've got various other groups, Friends of Rotary, and all sorts of people that I belong to. And I've been talking to them lately about rates and increases and things like this. And something has come through which rather scares me that I think should be brought to the notice of this group. And the thing is that pensioners get a set amount of money, and it's always well below the rest of the others. And what is happening is that I'm hearing from these pensioners, and I've also rang up my own insurance company to find out what's going on, that in order to make things pay, and in view of a rather high rates increase indicated, that they are now cancelling their insurance policies on houses in order to pay for rates and other things as well. Now, I'm looking at this and saying, for the old people, there are 30 to 35% people over 65 in this area. And what we're having is we're having a whole lot of people who are now hoping, upon hope, their house doesn't burn down. I'm saying I'd like to think that when you are making your deliberations on what's going to come, that you think about the consideration of these old people. They're on fixed wage. We can't turn around and go out and earn extra wage. For my own point, I'm 84 years old, and I can't get out there and find another. I most probably could another job. I'm pretty good at talking, so I could find another job. But basically, they're not out there. A young married couple can do extra work or find extra work and bring in the extra dollars if needs be. These are the people who have been in your community. There are a lot of volunteers. You'll find a huge amount of volunteer work goes on in this area. We're often getting praised by Mayor and other councillors who say, thank God for the volunteers we've got in this area. I'm saying, hey, let's hear you pay back for some of these old people. We're suffering out there. We're very tired. I think insurance policies on the moment have gone up something like 16%. And that's insurance policies. So no wonder these people are turning away from their houses. I've spoken to some 30 people, and of that, 5 have given up their insurance policies already for fire and for the house insurance, keep their contents, but are giving up the rest of them. So what I'm saying is that, hey, have this as your consideration in the back when you are making your decisions, that there's this large group of old people who give a lot to the community and sort of feel that they're not getting paid back. We want respect. That's all. And I'd like to think that I've come along here today to represent these people and say we need to be considered when you're making your decision, that we haven't got the back pockets that a lot of other people have got. So I believe very much in the ripple effect. And this is what happens when you do something, you don't look beyond it to see what the ripples are that are occurring. One just small example, and please I'm not getting anybody here. We had a situation here some months back where all the shops here on a Saturday weekend, an anniversary weekend, couldn't get customers because there were cones up right down the roads on both sides. People couldn't park and the others were going past. They missed out on all their work. Now, someone obviously had decided, yes, we're going to do this and this. Where was the ripple effect? The ripple effect was all those people from down by Elmo's and right through there couldn't get any customers because of this. And I think this is what happens a lot of time, that we are looking at the thing itself and not looking at the ripple effect. So on behalf of the old people of Carterton, I'm saying, come on, give us a fair deal. Think about us when you are making these decisions. And maybe if someone's got contact, if you haven't, I have, with the Ministry of Elderly People in Wellington, and we might be able to put up that subsidy a bit more. At the moment, I think it sits at $8.50. I think it's about time they seriously looked at considering increasing that and looking at a mathematical formula that says, while we can hold up our hands and say, Carterton is the highest paid rating place in the whole of New Zealand. Okay, well, they should maybe get them more. It's going to cause a bit of a headache down there, but maybe those sorts of people, there's a formulation between the rates and the $8.50 that's paid across. I really do feel that's something. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Allowing me the time.
No, please sit. I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, what? Anybody got any questions? Yeah.
Open the floor to the committee for any questions. I think everything you've said is very front of mind for all of us around the LTP and our annual plans every year. So thank you very much for speaking on behalf. And I implore you, if you do have those contacts in Wellington, the more people that can speak to them about increasing the rate subsidy would be very beneficial for all and local government around the
I
country.
know that the mayor made a comment the other night at the meeting of the, he's, get into your politicians, don't muck around, get into your politicians. They're the ones that make the decisions. And so I take that on board. Thank you, Ron. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next submitter I'd like to welcome to the table, Lesley.
And Ian McDonald.
And Ian McDonald. Thank you. I just had Lesley written down, but welcome both. Great to see you here this afternoon.
It's not that. Kia ora tātou. I'm Ian McDonald. I'm secretary of a trust called the Carterton District Trials Trust. This is Lesley MacGibbon. She's the chair of the trust. We, like the previous speaker, we're not asking for additional money. This is more, my bit is more about a progress report about how we have been working with CDC on the placement of a cycle bridge over the Waihini and a trail linking that to Carterton. Our trust grew from a recreational called the Carterton Cycle Group. There's 60 people on the Facebook page. It's an informal group, mainly retirees. We meet on a Wednesday and we go cycling. On a good day, we have 25 of us. This morning it was a bit wet. We only had 12. We might bike 30 to 70 Ks on a Wednesday morning, and we're the fittest 70-year-olds in the Wairarapa. So we're not just, our interest isn't just, it's any recreational cyclists. So 3 years ago, a group of us formed the Carterton District Trails Trust to promote a cycle bridge over the Waihini and subsequent trail. And a year ago, we agreed a memorandum of understanding with CDC to work together on this project. Must say on the outset that it's been a productive working relationship. Our focus has been on getting the bridge underway. Their focus has been more on the trail. So, as I said, we are making progress. A week ago, we delivered an engineer's report on it was a site analysis on the placement of a cycle bridge across the Waihini. The engineer's recommendation is for a bridge near River Road, we've got a meeting tomorrow with the CDC staff to talk about the next steps, and we think, given our current rate of progress, we might have a bridge design later in the year. Yeah, it's from our perspective, it's a positive thing moving forward. Lesley.
Okay, thank you. I just want to talk about the next little bit. Why cycle? Cycling is really good for people in terms of fitness, physical health, mental health, and also social connections. We've got some members of our cycle group here supporting us today. Like my own story is I came to the Wairarapa 6 years ago. I didn't really know anyone in Carterton. I've now got a wide network through this cycle group. We cycle, but we also always have coffee. So it's a very social group as well. And we sometimes do other social things. In terms of health, I'm 74. I've just turned 74. And as we get older, like my heart's not too good, my hips are a bit dodgy, and one of my knees is really dodgy. So I'm kind of limited in terms of what I can do, although I used to be really sporty when I was young. Cycling's great. I've got an adapted 3-wheel lie-back bike. You might have seen me going around town with my dog behind. It's wonderful. Bikes are great. People, older people in particular, can get exercise on bikes when they can't do other forms of exercise. And the greatest concern for cyclists is safety. We want to be safe on the roads. We don't necessarily have to be off-road for everything, but we want to be safe when we're out there. And we want to be able to get from Featherston to here without going on State Highway 2. We want to be able to get up to Masterton without going on State Highway 2. We want to be able to get down to Martinborough without having to travel too far on State Highway 2. So one of the things that the previous person mentioned was the age demographics of Carterton District Council. We're now 35% over 60. In 20 years' time, we will have 40% will be over 66. So that's almost half will be in the retired age group. So I think investment in cycling and cycling safety, cycling trails is going to be really important. One of the things that we've discovered, well, we knew, but we've had it confirmed, is success builds success. We've been working with the Greytown Rail Trail group, who a year ago opened their new Tauwhareneko trail with the new bridge over the Tauwhareneko River. That trail has had in the last year 30,000 people over it, cyclists and walkers. And that was in its first year. And the Greytown Rail Trail had 60,000 people on it. The group down there built those trails and that bridge with very little they had council support, but very little council money. And once they got the bridge up, money has just fallen in their lap. So we're hoping that that's a path that we will be following. We think that the CDC needs to be congratulated for making an allocation of over 2 million for the next 10 years, particularly into trails. Trails don't have to be off-road, they can be on-road. The thing that we're concerned about, though, is that we want to use that money well. We don't want the council to be in the situation of wasting money building little bits of off-road trails all over the place. There is an overarching organisation called Five Towns Trail Trust, which has got a plan for linking the 5 towns with trails that connect to each other. So when we head out for our 70k cycle, we will be able to do it all off main roads. We already can, but we want to be able to go further. So the part that the council, out of the last plan that the council's looking at, was Greytown to here. 7 minutes. Yep. We want to make sure that the council thinks about linking. What are they called? What are the trails called? Signature trails. Yeah. Signature trails, so that we do have around the Wairarapa a cohesive link, not little bits chopped up everywhere. That's all we wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you both very much for your submissions, and the mahi that I know has gone on engineering and making. I'd like to open to committee members for any questions.
From what you know now, where do you think you might put a bridge?
It's going to go, hopefully, it's going to go at where the old bridge used to be, down at River Road. You know, where River Road. Yeah, River Road goes down, it goes across regional council land on the other side.
So that, not very far from the State Highway Bridge.
And it's quite a way up. You go up Wairarapa Road for about three k's, and then you turn left into River Road.
By Waterson's line.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, reasonably close to Waterson's line. There used to be a bridge here from about 1899 through to the 1960s. And it wasn't maintained, and eventually it was pulled down.
Start or at the end?
Any other questions on the submission? Thank you both very, very much. I would like to now welcome to the table our final submitter for today, John Booth.
So that's with a round of applause, isn't it?
Number one, it is after he's finished. Number 115.
if you like.
Welcome, John. You know the process, mate.
Yep, thanks, Robin. Won't hold up too much of your precious time. So I'd just like to acknowledge Mayor Ron and all our councillors, and also our great CE Jeff and his management. They're all a very important cog in the wheel of this district, as I well know. And I just want to say, and I want to start off on a positive note and say thank you for what you do. And I don't envy some of the decisions you're having to make at the moment. Also, just want to comment on the long-term plan document. I mean, it's the consultation document and the full document. What an excellent production it was. And I know Elisa's not here anymore, but we've got some of the team here. Oh, she's there. It's such good reading, and it's very clear. And I think it's a positive document for everyone to look at and get a grip on what's going on, what's potentially going to happen, and what might not happen, what might get chucked out. I didn't actually ever intend of sitting around another long-term plan presentation after going through 4 in previous times, but I just felt I should make some comments, because if people don't comment, you guys don't know what people are thinking. Of the two items you were asking for consultation on, first one, roading, I've just picked a point out in there which wasn't mentioned, but it's been brought up around the tables, and that's the potential to rate forestry, because forestry, I know it's a long-term project for people, 28, 30 years, but when it gets that tail end of it with the harvest, it can inflict enormous expensive damage on our roads. And I would really like to see this council spend some time considering some form of rating on the forestry blocks, because at the moment the trees aren't considered a capital improvement, so they're basically rated on the land value only. So, you know, and again, it's another rural area and those roads are getting hammered. If you're going to increase resilience around the roads, they need to be built to a standard that will last, not like some of the work we've seen on our state highways recently. And if you go back 50, 60 years and look at some of our rural roads, other than the damage they get from probably logging trucks, they're as sound as the day they were built. And even some of the bridges. And yes, I know bridges are starting to get to the end of their life, but some of them, that's a very tricky one because they're very expensive. And I think, as Neil mentioned over there, you know, there's some emergency funding from NZTA. I think it was 71% towards repairing the roads, sorry, all the roading from the cyclone damage. So that's always helpful. Just ducking on to the other one, wastewater. It's a great project. And I agree with the work that's been done to date. And it's a very, very positive thing for this community to have something which originally was designed to last out 50 years. But I will just make a couple of comments about the new 85 hectare property, which council has recently purchased for $4.5 million. Could you please get some advice on drainage to suit the future use of this property for the potential to discharge treated wastewater on it? It is a very wet property. That's why water and river silk grow high yielding maize crops. And I would be interested, if it was one, to see any reports done on this property and its suitability pre-purchase. Just one item out of the consultation document. And I know I'm not speaking against some others who've just spoken before me about cycleways, but I absolutely agree there's a place for cycleways. But honestly, I don't think at the moment, with the way we are, it's actually appropriate to go and spend 2.4, potentially, I believe, up to 3 million on a cycleway from Carterton to Clearville to the AMP grounds. Wonderful idea, fantastic idea. And God, I'd be on a bike and riding there too. But from a financial point of view and how ratepayers are affected with everything at the moment, I don't think it's appropriate. And there'll be other things that you are looking at as councillors may not be appropriate to spend the money on at the moment. And you would have to work that out for yourselves. So I just want to comment on, the comments on the LTP. So it's a 10-year plan, reviewed every 3 years. Basically, that's like the budget I do on my farm. After that, it goes out the window, basically. Times are very tough, verging on desperation for many ratepayers. Currently, many in the rural area are under immense strain, financially with low commodity prices, weather-related and mentally, as are urban ratepayers in the urban environment. Please look seriously at what you spend and what is in the budget over the next 3 years. It's going to be make or break for many. I note debt in this document here over the next 8 years, and then it will double from 25 to 50 million. And the last 5 years of that, rates on the map show they're going to be hovering around 2 to 3% increase. I have to say that's probably a pretty good guess. And I've seen it before. It doesn't stay at that, because in 4 years' time, when you get to the first of those 5 years, I bet you it won't be 2 or 3%. A comment about that is my personal view. I think the current rating model around New Zealand is buggered, and it's causing, in my opinion, a situation verging on peak rates. We've also got Greater Wellington Regional Council rates, which you send out without CD rates, looking at a 20% increase. I really think the councils need to urgently, in conjunction with the National Council representatives of local government New Zealand and yourselves, get in the room for the new government and look to sensibly formulate how a new rating system involving central government contributions and local government can be put in place before there is a total financial meltdown. This is very urgent and imperative in my view. Councillors, ask the questions of management around the budgets they expected of you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you very much for your submission. Questions from any of our committee? There being no questions. You've I think your submission was very succinct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Robin.
Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Okay, there an end of all of our oral submissions for today. And with that, I will adjourn the meeting until 9 a.m. tomorrow for our deliberations. Thank you all. It will be here again tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Thank you all for your time today.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, everybody.